Hello guys, welcome to my world of programming. My name is Tumikladi. I'm excited to be back. I just want to show you that when you decide to learn programming, particularly in C# using .NET, what is it that you can expect, right? So I have an agenda for today. Oh, before we talk about agenda, let me point you to this YouTube channel. It's when I build identical docs using Xamarin Forms. And what I'm currently doing, these short videos that are straight to the point, are all uploaded on Licensed Handy Tips YouTube channel. Please take a look at that. If you're interested in me teaching you, showing you specifically how I build this a fully integrated system, Licensed Handy Tips, it's only going to cost you 25 Rand per session, which is an hour any day from Monday to Friday. Right, so what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to talk about services. I'll tell you what services is all about. Firstly, let's take a look at what services is. Services provide a specific UI-aware functionality for views in MVVM applications. So you should know that the Licensed Handy Tips is an MVVM-aware type of application. Although services are defined within views, their functionality can still be invoked from view models that may not even include information about views. So this is why it's so important, because this whole application, this is .NET Maui, right? It's MVVM aware. However, it also has an S part, MVVMS functionality, right? So meaning that we have models, we have view models, we have the views, and then we have the services. And I want us to talk about the services. So I have the app running right now. You can find this on Apple Store for iOS on iPhones or Google Play Store for Android. All right, so let's go to the services. What are the services? So the page we're going to be focusing on. Oh, by the way, sorry, the agenda. Yes, we're going to do part 1 of services as part of MVVM. We're going to be looking at .NET Maui app, right? So let's go straight to feedbacks. So I have this functionality feedback. You see, this is part of the UI, but as soon as I click, a lot is already happening right now. It went and then it talked to all layers, MVVMS. But what is the functionality? What is the purpose of a services? I'm glad you asked that. So for you to be able to see data, these are all the feedbacks that are coming from the database. Now the database is somewhere, I don't know where it is. I know, but I don't know where it is. And then there's a back end, which is a web API that can only talk to the database. But my application is asking for a request via web API or back end, right? So how does it work? So let's quickly go. Let's go to general, because I love to group with things in a way that makes sense. That's how good I am as a developer, right? So I know it's part of services, and you have to create a folder called the feedbacks. Why? Because inside there are 2 files inside. One is an interface, the other one is an implementation of that interface. So this is an interface, and we'll talk about the best practice of this. Number 1, you see how clean this is? Yes, that's how you should be as a developer. So I only have a public interface. You should always start with I. Always, if you're going to have an interface, I'm going to start with I feedbacks services. And I have 2 methods, right? They're all asynchronous. The one says get all async, which is responsible for getting this data, right? The one says post one async, meaning that I can post one or I can post multiple things, and then it's asynchronous operation. So the one that says let's get all, it's going to be asynchronous returning. You see, we're using the models, all feedbacks model. So if I quickly go to that class, it's responsible to give us title, message, rating, when it was created, and the user, which is title, message, the rating, and when it was created, and then the user, right? And then the time ago, of which it will say 1 year ago, right? So this is it, right? And then it's gonna be using observable collection, because this is a mobile application, so I'm flexible doing that, right? And then I have a post one, which is just gonna return was it true or failure. So let me quickly go and submit something. test by me. This is a sample feedback. Let's give it a rating of 3. And then the author, you can decide, are you anonymous or Jonas? I'm going to keep it Jonas. Done. And then submit. See, all of that is still done. It says the feedback you added was successful because this guy executed. So you have that. And then we have the implementation, right? So the implementation. This is the implementation of that feedback service. See, the only thing that you remove is the I. If you do this, that makes you a very good disciplined developer, right? And then I do have a global variables. One of them is HTTP client and then access token, because that it's protected. The web API, for me to ask a web API to go and talk to database, that operation alone is protected. And I need to be known who I am before I can do that, or else it's gonna drop the request before it even gets to a web API. Then I have the constructor where I just initialize some of the things, pull in that access token. And then you see this was responsible to get all of them. And this is responsible for getting all of them. I'm still going to make a detailed video on what on earth goes in there. But just want to show you that this is isolated from the view models, even the views. So where do we register these guys? In the Net Maui space, we go to Maui program, a class, and then we just have one line. There's the line. Builder.services.add transient, and then I say use the iFeedback service, and then this will be the implementation. The reason why I'm using a transient, because right now you don't see that newly added feedback. What if you are submitting feedback and I'm sitting on my portal as a someone who has the powers to approve them? If I approve and you come back here, it will show up. Or if you hit refresh like this, it will show up. So it has to be transient for me. All right. So then the view model quickly. If we go to the view model, we go to general feedbacks for getting all this page here. You see what it does? I only pull up private read-only iFeedback service. And then when you are using the services like this, you have to make sure it's underscore. And then you need to initialize it using the constructor. You need to inject it using the constructor. You see, there we go. And then where you are using it, you are just saying, listen, what are we returning? Because this method returns task of observable collection or feedbacks model, right? I'm calling that guy, it knows where to go. This guy is already binded to the relevant person, which is this guy, observably. So this is all about the services in .NET Maui. You saw I pulled all the feedbacks, right? And I can even add a feedback, right? They're all going to the database through, not even via, through web API. Web API knows that, do I know you? Are you allowed to ask for a something, a request or response based on the protection layer on the web API? And when that happens, then it's going to further ask database to pull data or database to receive data. And it's going to tell us if that operation was successful or not. So this is how we separate using MVVMS pattern, to separate the consent, to say you're only going to handle this. You're going to tell the views using observable properties, which is, you understand, this will alert the UI, which is the views of what we did. But the view model is not responsible to handle such request, which is get us. It only says, listen, I'm going to ask you to get us. You know what to do that side. That's how powerful it is. So next up, I'm going to show you using the SP.NET Core MVC and Web API simultaneously. What goes in there, because those ones are different. I need you to stick around, pay attention. If you want me to teach you all of this, it's going to cost you only 25 Rand per session to know all of these things. 25 Rand per session. For a full hour, I will walk you through slowly. If you have any questions, then I will highlight you slowly. If you know anyone who might be interested, or you yourself, whether you are a student, whether you are doing CAD, whether you are a professional, how I build lessons, any tips, I'm your guy. Thank you.